Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon for the Thursday at 3 p.m. live stream here at Joe Daddy's Garage. If you'll notice something a little bit different in the background, I don't know if you can see or not. I don't know if you can tell. I've rearranged some of my tools. I don't know if you can tell or not. Maybe you can see them or maybe you can't. I relocated my welder. That's what I did. Repositioned my welder. So maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. I don't know. But yeah. I want to welcome everybody here. I see that Ricard is already checking in, and I'm glad you liked that little video I did on Facebook, Ricard. Jerry is checking in. Harry Olson, glad you're here. Tyler Woodruff, do you got any videos on a 64 Thunderbird? Actually, I might. I did the at the body shop. You might want to search that. Years ago at the body shop, I put quarter panels on a 64, 5 or 6 Thunderbird, but that's probably the only video I have if it's there. So you might want to Google that or search in my videos and just look for the search Thunderbird, I guess. Truck 1LT, I was just watching a video on sanding jade and putting on epoxy primer. Good thing. Nandu checking in. Hi, Barry and everyone. Nick Pixel, looks like the insulation foam in the ceiling expanded a bit. Yeah, that could be it. Rick Stevenson, good to see Jade out of the paint booth. Yes, I am happy to have it relocated today. Bob Neal, hey, how are you today? I'm doing pretty good, I think. I think so far, so good, moving forward. Jeff Reynolds, Highbury and all, I was late getting to the hospital. Well, as long as you got your wife picked up and you came home and, are you on your way yet or on your way back? So I know you usually go to get your wife and then come home and cook. So, Tyler. Okay, it's hard to find vids from my car. Yeah, there's not a lot of Thunderbird vids. But like I said, I think I redid some quarter. I know I redid some quarters on an old Thunderbird. And if I remember correctly, what the people had done, I don't know. It was like they stacked a quarter on top of a quarter or something. I don't know. It's been so long ago, but I know I cut one loose, repositioned it to get it to fit right, and welded it back in. So anyway, Jack W. checking in. Glad you're here. Jeff Reynolds on his way to pick up his wife. That's good. Good man. Dave Conville, hello again. Hello. Yeah. So I've done some rearranging, and what I wanted to do in particular was work on that fender or replace that fender. I've talked about it before, and I'm going to do some videos on that fender itself. As I've already done with the other fender, I did a repair on it and showed that process. But this fender is pretty beat up. We'll just put it that way. It's got a lot of body filler on the front. I don't know. It was an aftermarket fender to begin with, and I can't say overall what is really in. So I may strip it down just to get a look at it. At this point, I have another fender that came off of this car that my buddy has, and I'm going to try to make that fender work if it's in good enough shape. But that has yet to be seen. So I wanted to get this car up here so that I could show the process, because in the back, in the paint booth area, it's too cramped, and to be working on a fender and test fitting and going back and forth and making mods, and it would just be a hassle. So it's a lot easier to have it up front here. And along with that, I want to try to get everything in primer. Everything. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm debating on what I want to do with it, because there's a local car show that, if you've seen my Facebook posts, I usually post pictures from that car show, same place. And I've got probably, I don't know, 100 or so pictures on there of various cars. Well, there's one more car show / cruise in that is coming up the first Saturday of November, if I understand correctly. And I wouldn't mind, I'm not going to get the car done. That's not the idea, but I wouldn't mind getting it all in primer and then maybe load it on a trailer and just take it to the cruise in and let people see a car that's in process instead of one that's either a rat rod or one that's, all redone. Maybe let them just see one that's, midstream, let's say. So anyway, that's kind of the idea I have in mind as well. Jade sounded great doing reverse burnout. Yeah. Yep. She sounds angry. Okay. So Jeff's wife is getting there to go get a ride home. Ron checking in from Northeast Tennessee. All right. That's good. So we have 2 from Tennessee already today with Jerry, who has checked in earlier. And I know Ricard is here, which I hope you're doing well, Ricard. I know you said before you had some, maybe it was a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember, but I know you had some sickness or something. So I hope you're doing or feeling better. Other than that, I guess that's the big news, is having Jade up here now. And, that's the first that I've actually had these wheels on the front. I've test fitted the ones in the rear before, but I didn't have a chance to get them on the front. It had those old, the GT style, I think 14-inch, GT style wheels. And so was able to get those off and, put on these, whatever you want to call them. I guess, I don't know if it's not technically a torque thrust, but it's a knockoff of a torque thrust, I guess. I didn't realize how much space was around the rear wheel well. I had a friend over here today, and he saw the car, and he was like, "You could use some really big tires back there." But I don't know that I want that. I don't know what the plan is. It looks like it's sitting a little bit high, which is not uncommon. But again, I don't have everything bolted on it. I don't have all the interior in. I don't have the bumpers on, the hood, all the pieces and parts and glass. So all that's going to add some weight and maybe make it settle down just a little. But we'll find out soon, I hope. Let's see. Marshall, going to try some painting soon using a Summit epoxy primer. Did you thin it at all or just use the catalyst as a thinner? Yeah, I used it as just as it was mixed. And I think it's a 1-to-1 ratio. I did not add any thinner to it. If I remember correctly, that's what it calls for. That's why it sells it, 1 gallon, 1 gallon. But I would not recommend thinning it. Ricard, had a seizure at work. Wow. That's not good. That's not good. I hope it's something I can handle and take care of. Yeah, that's never a good sign, but you're well enough to sit here and watch the live. So that's good. That's a good thing. Man, it's kind of surprising. Usually I think, when you said you were not, I forget what you had said, not feeling well or whatever. I figured maybe some sort of a virus or something along those lines, but seizure can be pretty serious. I know I've been around people who've had some pretty severe seizures, and it's scary, really, for everybody, not just the person having it, but also the people that are trying to attend to that person. So I hope things get figured out and you'll improve soon. It's been interesting this past week here. The temperatures in Georgia, as many of you know, it's warmer here than in most parts of this country, I guess. But like today, man, it's hot. It's not hot. It's currently 80 degrees outside, and we're not going to see a break from that until next week. that we'll finally get some cooler temperatures. Not that I'm in a hurry to get cooler temperatures. I did have to turn on the AC because it was getting stuffy in here. And of course, the burnout that I did makes it kind of smoky. Robert Adams, 10-minute break from building the walk-in shower. Well, glad you're here. And I was watching a video that Robert did. His channel is The Infernal Craftsman, if you haven't seen it. And he did a review on a Goodmark quarter panel that he bought through Summit and realized that somebody had tried that quarter panel on another car, and of course it was terrible. So he took it back to Summit and has another one ordered, from what I understand. So hopefully the next one, I think it's going to be a Dynacorn, he said, will be nice and fit the car. That'll be a big plus, because the one he had was really not a good quarter. I told him it would make great wall art. You know, you could paint it up, hang it on the wall, and just stare at it. Jason checking in. Robert Adams, 85 here in Texas. Cold front tomorrow, we hope. Ooh. Yeah, 85 is pretty toasty. Rune. Wow, that's a different name. Wait a minute. Rune Johansson. We got snow, so no AC here. Where are you from, Rune? That's a different name. I've not seen that on the stream before. I'm usually pretty good with names, I think. Trying to remember who people are. But that's not a name that I've seen before. I know that for a fact. Harry Olson, 49 here in Ontario, Canada. Well, that's probably not bad for Ontario. I would think. I mean, you're way north of us, so I would think that's not a bad temperature at this time of year. And we had a little, some rain showers yesterday, a little brief type of thing, but it's just enough to make it humid is about it. And, that's how it goes. Anyway, what else is going on out there? Anybody got some news and exciting things? I know that Winged Warrior Dave sent me some pictures today. He painted his 68 coupe. Sent me some pictures. From the pictures, it looks pretty good, but maybe he'll check in and give us some feedback. I don't know. I think it was supposed to be nice weather in his state, and was able to get it painted. And if you remember, he's the one who showed us some tools that he made, various tools that he made for working on his Mustang. Gave us a little bit of a tour of the car on a live stream. So, RJ from Norway used to use the letters RJ. Okay, so now it says RJ, and here it says the other one says Rune. Well, that's interesting. I don't know why my name was changed. Yeah, I don't have any control. That's all I know. So you've been here before, I guess, but not with your name showing. So sorry if I exposed your name. Another thing, to get this around front here, I've moved it around before with literally me sitting on a paint can, a 1 gallon paint can on the seat mount and seat riser. And I decided I better not do that, because all I have to hang on to is a steering wheel. And I found I had a seat. Well, you can't really see it. It's actually out of a 60, I think it's a 65 or 66, one of the two. Nice seat that was given to me. And of course, that'll bolt right in, but it's not the seat for the car. I have the seats for the car, which have been recovered. They were all recovered when I got the car 7 years ago. And they're sitting in one of my little storage sheds outside. But there's so many parts that I can't, parts stacked in that shed, that I can't get to the seats without removing almost everything. So I had this little seat sitting somewhere else, and I grabbed it, and thankfully it popped in the car and did its thing. Truck 1LT, was that the offset stripes? Was that the offset stripes? Are you talking about this car? Or are you talking about you're talking about the one I posted on Facebook, the silver car with mismatched black stripes on it. No, that was a 65 or 6 car. I don't remember. Jade, of course, is a 68. And I showed that picture because, the car was for sale on Facebook. And, maybe a decent price. I don't know. But when I see stuff like, and I don't have it pulled up here to show, but when I see stripes on a car, first of all, I think most of us know the stripes on a, say, 65 Mustang, they change dimensions from the hood to the roof to the deck lid. They're actually different dimensions for some reason. Maybe it's just an optical illusion that they wanted to create. But this particular car, it looked like the one stripe was maybe 3/8 of an inch wider than the other one, maybe. And they were also offset on the trunk latch or trunk lock and the gas cap opening, and down on the valance, one was nice and straight and the other one kind of curved in on the side. So, the car was for sale and it says, body work done and this is done and that's done. When I see stuff like that, I just can't trust whatever they've done to that car. It looks like what we used to call, the body shop, we'd call it a slap sell, where somebody would slap it together and sell it and let somebody else deal with it. And not only that, but the car, they painted everything silver, like the whole engine bay, aprons, frame. It's like they just we got 2 gallons of silver. Let's paint the whole car silver and then throw some stripes on it. And I just can't. I don't know. If somebody tries to, when the price is too good, let's say, and you see what looks like a really shiny car, that should be a warning. Something's not right. Truck 1 LT says shabby work. Yes. I've seen stuff like that, like I said before, and drives me crazy. I do have some other pictures that I've taken, like when I was at that cruise in last weekend or whatever it was. I posted pictures of several Mustangs and different things. And there was a fairly sharp 60, what was it? It was a 65 fastback. I know it was either 5 or 6, but I'm pretty sure it was a 5. And it was painted a nice deep red or dark, like a burgundy red kind of mix, I don't know what the color would be. And I'm looking at the car, and from a distance, it looked pretty sharp. I mean, I was going over. I took several pictures of it, and then when I got up to it, it had aftermarket fenders on it, but it's like they didn't consider the variances in between the fenders. So where it started to have a nice curve coming into the door, and the door actually has a very subtle curve at the front. The fender was square. So you end up with this curve and a square fender. So the gap was, wide and got real tight and then got real wide again. So I was kind of disappointed in that because, they spent a good bit of time getting his car painted. But there's little details that, again, most people don't even look at. Honestly, probably most people don't care about that. They just see a car. But I look for that stuff because that just tells me more about the quality of the job. And I think somebody had put quarters on it, but it was weird looking, like where the transition from the outside comes up into the roof panel. It was like lumps. It was almost like they got welded together and they just sort of blended them down and then just smeared body filler over it. And in the process of sanding it down, it's almost like they used maybe a really soft sponge, this type of, block. And it just conformed over those. I mean, there was like 5 or 6 of these, and it's like it just conformed, and rode over top of each of those humps. And I mean, it was like, you could feel, I could see it, but I know if I took my hand and ran over it, I would feel this bumpiness. And again, I was like, man, you put so much effort into fixing up this car, and you shortchange yourself on the final product. And that's why, I talk about it before. I've talked about it before. I've mentioned it. And I've had a lot of people agree with me. You can be the best painter in the world, but if you don't have the prep work done right, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And I was disappointed in the work, but I was also, disappointed thinking that maybe, I don't know if this guy built it himself or if he paid somebody. It's even worse to me if he paid somebody to do all that work, and then here's all this messed up quarter on both sides. It was like that. And then there was areas where, just panels didn't fit. And I thought, man, I hope this guy didn't spend $10,000 on a paint job and ended up with a Earl Scheib special, because it was really disappointing. Just my opinion, though. Some people don't care. Let's see. Harry started working on the 67 last weekend, got the cowl repair finished and the new firewall and side panels welded in. Dynacorn parts fit great. I'm glad to hear you're making progress. That sounds good. Robert, I see so many cars at swap meets and car shows with new paint, but the original cracked weather strip and flaking paint edges from the bad masking job. If you are spending the money on paint, pull the rubber. Yes. I agree with that 100%. It's just so disappointing. I'm just like, man, did they really spend that much money or time and didn't finish a job? Just didn't do them any favors. I don't know if I have. I probably couldn't. I could maybe send these to myself, because, I didn't post all these pictures because it was not really relevant. But at times like this, when I want to talk about something, I think it's important that information gets shared on this sort of thing. Let me see if I can email these to myself, and then I can pull them up. But anyway, what else is going on there? What color are you going with? Chuntsy? I'm going back on this car with the original Gulfstream Aqua, which is what the fender is. I really think it's a sharp color. And that's why this car is named Jade. Just an easy way to. Hold on just a second. I heard a door shut. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves real quick. Oh, never mind. It's across the street. The neighbor's spraying some hydroseed, I think. Trying to stop his yard from washing away. His new construction over there. And we had some big rains last week, and man, a bunch of the water just flowed down the street. Let's see if those pictures come out. Maybe. Pizza guy. No, not yet. Robert, you got to show up first. If you're going to work on that blast cabinet, you got to show up. I don't know if you noticed when I was doing the door hinges, put my hinges in the blast cabinet, and I've been struggling with a couple things with that cabinet. One, of course, is it's not upgraded. There are people who modify their cabinets and they work fantastic, and I have not done that, and that's on me. I'd like to add a little vacuum to it, change some of the seal process and different things. Well, another big problem I'm having is water, and the air compressor has a little water separator on it, and I have a little water separator I put on the blast cabinet, but it was so bad it was pushing water into the blast cabinet. So I'm looking at buying, and I mentioned, I think on Monday, I want to get a air dryer for the air compressor. And the prices can vary quite a bit. And I know Harbor Freight sells one for like $400. I read the reviews. Probably 90% or 85% are positive, and then there's a handful that are negative. But it's also a $400 tool or add-on. Whereas a Ingersoll or Quincy or whoever is 3 times the price anyway. So I have to decide whether I want to take a chance on that Harbor Freight brand because I got to get water out of the system. I've got too much water flowing around. Um, I've tried different things. I drain the tank daily, but here in Georgia, it seems like with the humidity, it just pumps it up so fast. So I'm gonna have to come up with something and may improve the airflow or the problem with the airflow. Jason, on our car, we removed the rear quarter reflectors. The original lime green was underneath on the passenger side, and red, second color, under the driver's side reflector. Interesting. Lime gold. Yes, I'm sorry. I read that. You did say lime green, but I know it's lime gold, and that's Shelby's Mustang. Chintzy junk. Okay. Robert, I'm going to do some more upgrades to mine in the future video. Also going to add a light. You can move around. Well, that'll be cool. I've seen one, Jorge Lopez. He did a real good job with his major improvements. He actually made it so he could open the top instead of the side door. He hinged the top and added a seal around that, and then a vacuum system and some like track, like the LED track lights or whatever that you can put around the perimeter, and added a foot pedal and a bunch of stuff. And it was pretty cool. I told him he needs to do a video on that. Marshall, I share a blast cabinet with my old man. We did those mods with the vacuum resetter, and it's night and day difference. Would highly recommend. Yeah, I just have to get the materials together, and then make the time to put it together. So, Arthur Woodward, hey guys, it's my favorite vehicle in the background. I'm going to say probably currently my favorite video at the moment, or favorite vehicle at the moment. I mean, I'm always going to have the Model A, is so important to me. But now when I'm fire this thing up and move it around, oh man, it's pretty awesome. Jerry, I put an external radiator and secondary separators on outputs. I have seemed to stop the water issue with the blast box. Well, that's cool. So when you say an external radiator, you mean like a car radiator? Is that what you used? So I've heard of people doing that, using like a big truck radiator and just letting it do its job to get the water out. But I have not pursued that as of yet. Arthur, I'm having problems with drivability. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I may have problems with this thing just because of the way it runs. I mentioned before when I asked my buddy to build that, I said, just, build a stock engine. It's not stock. It's not stock. Robert Adams, I put LED light strips all over the inside of mine when I put it together. Yeah, that's what I need to do. I just haven't gotten that far. RJ, what brand of hand tool do you prefer? I'm considered to buy some Craftsman tool, but not sure yet. When you say hand tools, you mean like regular tools, like ratchets and wrenches and stuff like that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with using Craftsman stuff. In fact, it was I grew up. That's all we used was Craftsman because if they broke, my dad would take them back to the store and get new ones, so it was easy to replace. But I found that honestly, I've got a set of generic, like Ace Hardware wrenches in my toolbox, my metric stuff that I've been using for years, and nothing's broken. They're just as tough as anything else. I've got plenty of Harbor Freight sockets and ratchets, and they've all held up fantastic. So, shop around a little bit. I know that sometimes if I don't know if you have access, again, what your access is to tools in various areas, but I wouldn't hesitate to buy, more of the Harbor Freight tools, especially their Icon brand, which is just a knockoff, basically a copy of Snap-on is what it is. So, but I haven't had a need to buy any tools in quite some time. Everything I've got is holding up fantastic. Um, but again, there's nothing, I would say nothing wrong with Craftsman, but I don't know about the warranties anymore, where you have to go and how you have to handle it. Even the Cobalt brand is going to be decent. So, just do a little research on what you want to spend. Chuncy, thumbs up. Okay. Marshall, I think guys use large tranny coolers on compressors. Well, that may be. Jerry, no, this radiator is a bolt-on for a car radiator. I also installed two 12-inch fans. Okay. And I guess when you use the car radiator, because I have somewhere in here, I have an aluminum radiator that I use in my race car, but I don't know if I want to use that. I've got other ones, but I run about 120 psi. I don't think that would be an issue. I guess I would have to figure out a good way to connect to the radiator itself, to the necks, to try to, try to make it, connect my lines to it. But I'll have to do some more research on that as well. Arthur, idles perfectly, but down the street it sputters. I guess sputters is the word you're looking at. Well, if that's the case, I don't know what you have for a carburetor. I don't know what you have for a fuel pump. I don't know if you checked your lines to see if they're blocked up at all, because I've had issues with cars before that junk got into a fuel line and it would idle great, but whenever I would hit the gas, it would be trying to suck fuel, and I couldn't get past the blockage, so it would stumble. I've also had incidences where a fuel pump was bad, and it would do enough, to keep it pressured idle, but moving forward, trying to accelerate, not good. So it could be a variety of things, but it sounds like a fuel problem to me, because if it's running, it's doing all its functions. But try to research whether you're actually getting fuel. And I don't know how hard it is. You could try to hook up a pressure gauge between the fuel line coming out of the fuel pump to the carburetor and see if you have pressure there. I know in the past, like in my dad's junkyard, if we had a car that wouldn't run like that, we would take the hose off of the fuel pump and put an air hose in it and put pressure with the cap off. You want to have the cap off your gas tank, and just put some air pressure in there and listen. And sometimes you could hear it like bubble, and you say, okay, well, the line is clear from the hose to the tank. Other times we could push on it and you'd wait, add a little more pressure, then you hear like a boom, and it would blow out into the tank, whatever the junk was. So just some options you could look at. Chuncy, no, I don't. It's not over 500 horsepower by any means. It might be 300, maybe. I don't know exactly. I know you put a nice cam in it, but I wouldn't guess over 300 horsepower. Yes, Jerry, I am. Robert, you can use a transmission cooler between the pump and the tank, which cools the air to help get the water out of it while it's in the tank. When I blast with my pressure blaster, the tank gets quite warm. Yeah, the tank definitely gets warm because my compressor, it's an older compressor, so it's dying. I want it to die. So I can just replace it. But it keeps chugging along, but of course it runs longer and harder to keep pressure up. So I guess I hadn't thought about that, to try to cool the air between the pump and the tank. Okay. Nandu, Craftsman Tools quality is not as good as it was. That is very true. That is very true. I've actually seen pictures of broken Craftsman Tools now because they've changed something and not as good as they should be. Chuncy saying icon is not bad, I assume, is what you're saying. Blue Oval fan, Craftsman, that's all I have, but they are 10 to 20 years old. During Black Friday and Christmas, they have some good deals. Well, that's a good point. Jerry, I have an automatic tank drain which collects water and then blows off the water based on the level. Yeah. Yep, those are handy. Yeah, that's fine, Jerry. Please do. Barry, I'm doing what any loving husband would do. I've got you on audio only on my hand phone with my headset in the other ear. Well, I'm glad you're here, Jeff. Well, let me see if I can. I got these. Finally, got these pics that I took of this car. And I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can pull those up or not. Yeah, let me see if I can do that. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can add some pictures. Oh. Yeah. I'm going to be able to pull these up here real quick. So, give me just 1 second. Boy, that air feels good now that I've got it coming on and starting to cool down in the shop. So glad I put that system in there. Let's see if I can do one more. I don't know for sure exactly which pick is which. But, okay, so first of all, and again, I'm not trying to necessarily, I'm not trying to pick at this particular car other than to say these are some things you can look at. And I'll show you that in just a minute. She says yes. Okay, yeah, Icon. Yeah, pretty good stuff. Rick Stevenson Craftsman tools are mostly made in China, no longer made in the USA. Yeah. It's funny. And not that I have a friend who sells a name brand tool. I'm not going to say which name brand tool, but he has told me that like the same company that makes his name brand tool makes the name brand tools for the competition. Same company, same assembly, same line. All they do is they'll change the logo or whatever. And so if you're buying brand X or brand Y between, let's say, the two major tool companies, they're basically the same tool, made in the same foundry or whatever you want to call it. Warren, I had a car that had rust in the gas tank. It would run fine, but under a load would suck the rust up and clog the sock in the gas tank, and the car would die and not start for over an hour. Yeah, yep, that's what I was saying. It gets junk caught up in the fuel. All right, let me show you these. If I can show you, whoops. Okay, so again, here this is the car that I was looking at, and like I said, it's a sharp car. It is really nice. It's got nice wheels on it. The paint looks great. The fitment was pretty good on the front end and stuff like that. And I thought, man, that's a really, really sharp looking little car. And then I went to, let's see, which one was it? That was the driver's side. That was the driver's side door. And I mean, I just can't. I couldn't live with that. I could not live with that. To have such a sharp car. I think I have another, maybe the same shot. Yeah, same shot. You know, it's just one of those detail things that drives me crazy. That gap should be consistent all the way through. And then I have, this is from the passenger side. See what I'm talking about? To me, that's just wrong. That's just painful. I can't understand why somebody would let that go. Now, I don't know if the guy built the car himself or not, or if he paid somebody. But I mean, I could stick my pinky through that gap at the top, and that is just torture to me. That is just torture. Um, and I don't know what to. The guy wasn't around to talk to, and I didn't really want to stand there and just be pointing at stuff. But and then that's the quarter. So if you look closely, you can see those bumps that I was talking about that start about at the corner of the deck lid and work their way up the sail panel, and it had that on both sides. And again, look at the shine. Look at the shine on that car. Somebody took their time to sand and buff and polish and make that car look nice. But I could not walk. I could not stop myself from looking at those quarters and trying to figure out what happened there. How did that end up like that? I mean, obviously they may have replaced a quarter and cut some, done some work there, but I don't understand it. So let me see what, yeah, Chuncy says, wow. Yep. Harry Olson. Ouch. Robert, the gaps are far better on mine and they are not even bolted on fully. Yeah. Chuncy says, he's trying to say, oops, oh my God. He's saying, oh my God. Marshall, wrong on so many levels. Yes. Harry Olson, need to call Filmy Kraken to fix those gaps. Yeah. Yeah. Robert, the guy spraying the paint and the guy buffing it had to be cringing at the bodywork. That's all I can say. I don't understand how you could let that go. I mean, I understand there's problems with aftermarket panels, and you've seen my videos. I'll sit there and I'll weld up the edge and, transitions, because to me, it's just so critical. Especially depending on the colors, like if you look in this instance, you can see, the door gap on Jade. Now these doors are not set exactly where they're going to be. Let me pull this off for a second. The doors are just, I just bolted them on to get it out of the back shop. So the gaps are nowhere near where they're supposed to be. However, when you have a light colored car, gaps are critical, because you'll see it so much more on a light colored car versus something that's dark. So if I were to move, aside here a little bit, you look down here at the bottom of where there's some black, that's actually some epoxy overspray on the door, or some of the paint that I sprayed, I believe, from when I did the interior panels. It's harder to see that gap, even though it's a really wide gap right now. It's harder to see that than to see that. And it's all about the light and the color and that sort of thing. But that to me is just painful. I just can't. I can't. I just can't. Chuncy probably was a crash derby car. Well, I hope not. I hope it wasn't a crash derby car. Demolition derby car. RJ, that's why you should not drink. I know you mean beer. And hit the buy it now button on eBay. Exactly right. Marshall, the deck lid looks like a mirror too. How'd they put that much work in the car and overlook this? The world may never know. Yeah, I don't. I mean, the polish was just fantastic on it. And again, there was other places that had minor imperfections, but to me, you'd have to start over. You'd have to start over on this car to try to fix all that stuff, because you can't, there's just, I mean, you're not going to strip off a little bit of paint and sand that down. That's got to be welds that weren't done properly. And, when you come to the fender, something's going to get welded there for sure, in my opinion. And even if you look at the center peak of the body line, if you notice between the door and the fender's low. If you look at the center peak and you look at the top of the door, the transition from the crease at the top of the door to the transition, corner at the fender, it's low. And some of that could probably be taken out with some tweaking of the fender itself. Some of it. What people don't realize, and I've shown this in a video I did years ago, was that gap at the top, you can change that by twisting the fender at the front. And I know it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it does. I showed it on the light blue Mustang that I did, where you can, the 2 bolts, I think there's 2 bolts. I know there's 2 on the 68, but the 2 bolts at the, bolt from the front of the fender into the core support, there's play in that. So when you twist the fender, it actually twists it in the back kind of the opposite way, in a sense, depending on where you put the bolt in the bottom. So, there's ways you can play with that. And I know I could get that gap tighter on that passenger side just by massaging the angle of that fender a little bit and bringing it back. It could probably tighten up at least 1/8 of an inch to try to hide some of that. But, yeah, I just, that's why I have a hard time going to car shows, because I see people oohing and ahhing over a car, and I walk up to it and I'm like, oh, this isn't even bolted together right. Or this is, all these little details that just make it look good from 50 feet, which that Mustang looked fantastic from 30 feet. But the closer I get, the more I stress out over that stuff. And I hate to be there and have, somebody start asking me questions. So what do you think? It's like, it's a nice car. I did have one guy, he had a 64 and a half, convertible that he had bought from New York. And it was a nice looking car. It was very nice. And I looked it over and we started a conversation, and he started asking me questions, and I was asking him questions. What was really cool about the car was that all the aprons were original. The fenders were original. The hood, looks like all the panels were original. However, when I got to the back of the car and I was looking at the quarters, I ran my hand along the wheel well, and it was too smooth. It was just too smooth. Now, I'll say this. I have smoothed out the wheel wells on the 68. I mean, I did the welds. I added filler because I want it to be smooth. There's a difference. That car, they were pushing it as being original. Original. And there's a difference. If it's original, it needs, and you're selling it as an original car, then certain things need to appear to be original. And part of that is the welds, spot welds, and different things. But all of his other documentation, I mean, the date codes on the fenders, the aprons, everything was spot on. But when I got back to the wheel well and I started running my hand across it, I was like, this is too smooth. There should be, spot welds. And then I got down and I started running my hand across the bottom of the quarter, and I was like, this isn't the right shape. It was close, but it wasn't right. And then I knocked on it, just like just gently tapped on a quarter, and it sounded like that, like a lot, all around the bottom of the quarter, up into the wheel well. Nope. This is all Bondo. And he was like, what? I said, this is all Bondo right here. And I went to the other side. Yep. All this is Bondo right here up to like this point. He could hear the difference. And he was like, oh. But he was asking, he wanted my opinion of it. And anyway, so he already said he was going to get the car redone, repainted by a shop. A guy I know, the guy that owns the shop, and he said the quote to paint that car was $10,000. And he said, "Does that sound reasonable?" I said, "It might even be more. It might even be more because they got to completely tear that car down and fix a lot of issues that are hidden." So I said it might even be more, but we'll see. Hopefully he stays within that price range. Now the thing is too, the guy, I think he's an airline pilot. So he didn't even blink at the $10,000 cost. But I know a lot of people couldn't go, "Oh, well, go ahead and do it." Arthur, no, my wife's car doesn't sputter. It spatters. 302 stock 289 take Holly 4-barrel new Magnus Spark system also new. Spatters. Okay. I still say check your fuel. See what's going on with fuel. Let's see. Robert just sent a link to a thread with a 65 with 1,300 miles on it. The factory did a horrible job on them compared to what we expect today. Yeah. Well, I agree with that. I mean, that's a given. There's only so many things they cared about in that time period. And number one was getting the car out the door. They were selling those cars so fast. Just get it close, get it gone. And they were selling them like crazy. So I'll have to take a look at that later on. Let's see. Mason, hey, Joe Daddy's Garage. Is that Jade behind you? If it is, what year's the car? Let's see. Yep, that is Jade. So it currently has a 302 with an automatic transmission in it. And there's videos of that car, on the Jade playlist, firing up the engine, breaking in the cam, bunch of stuff out there. So you can take a look at that. Now, I got an email from Harry, and he sent me some pics of his car. I don't know, Harry, are you okay with me putting these pics on the stream? Just let me know. People might want to see what you're working on. I don't mind posting them if you want me to. Just let me know. Let me see where we're at. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So anyway, when people are again trying to okay, so Harry, you want to show that? Okay. All right, Robert. Go back to building the shower. We'll leave you going on the TV though. Okay. That sounds good. All right. So I'm going to pull up some pics that Harry sent me and add those to the stream. Let me see if I've got. That should be one. Hopefully. If it'll open it. Yep. And there's number 2. So if I remember, you said it's a 67, I believe. Is that what you said? Yeah. Wait a minute. Let me pull that up. Let's see, Bob. I just found out today that my Mustang was built in New Jersey, shipped to New Orleans, where the first owner took it to San Diego. Second owner, she lived in San Diego. Now it lives in Detroit. Wow. That one's been around the world, around the country, I should say. Let me pull up these pics here. So here's a shot from Harry. That looks pretty good. Yeah. So new cowl. Oh, and you're putting in a one-piece floor pan by the looks of it. That'll be nice. And there's the other shot with the cowl in place. And when I first looked at that picture, I was a little confused because of the firewall. I was like, wait a minute, it doesn't look right. But I guess that's kind of interesting that I've not looked at doing torque boxes that way. I hope that things go together smooth like that. Are those torque boxes just clamped in place? Must be just clamped in place. Because I know in the past I've had every one I've done, I've had to separate the torque boxes and do them piece by piece. So you can let me know if that's the status of. Looks like they're clamped up there. I'm gonna assume they're clamped in place. But I forget sometimes what the firewall looks like on the 67 and 8 car because I just don't see it that often. But this one actually, that firewall looks really deep around the airbox. So maybe it's just the shadows. Must just be the shadows that make it look really deep. Could be throwing me off there a little bit. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. Harry, I was just test fitting at this point. Good. And torque boxes are going in later. They're 2-piece. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective, I think you kind of work it all together where you get in the torque boxes, get in the frame rails, get them in place. And of course, torque boxes kind of all at the same time. But I was a little concerned because I thought, man, that's going to be tough to get those frame rails in there if it's not exactly right. Okay, just clamped, everything was removed and drilled. Good. That's a nice looking project. I like that one-piece floor. In a way, I wish I would have done in Jade a one-piece floor instead of the separate pans, but it's fine. It's not gonna. I'm not worried about winning any car shows with it. I just want a car that's fun to drive and looks good, going down the road, and that's what it'll be. Frame rails are next. Good. Okay. Let me see what else is going on here. If I missed anybody's comments on the side. Okay. So anyway, as I said before, the plan is to work on the front fender on Jade and get it fitting properly. Now what I'll do is I'll take the fender off and I'll readjust the door to where I'm happy with it. And then I'll start working the fender. And I'll probably do several videos in the process. As I mentioned before, I'm trying to make shorter videos and get the viewership better, so that I've mentioned it, I'm sure, to where if I have a video that's an hour long and somebody watches it for 10 minutes, then the value to YouTube drops tremendously, and they want to see 50% viewership or 50% of the video viewed from their perspective. So by doing that, it also encourages them to promote the video. So by making shorter videos with a good bit of information in it, then it's more likely somebody will watch it past the halfway point. So I tried to do that with the hinge video that I did for Jade. And I tried to eliminate as much as I could from the videos, but then I realized too, and I have to keep this in mind, even though I did a video for the 65 and 6 hinge, I'm pretty sure I did one for the 67 hinge. If I do one for the 68, I can't assume that everybody watched the other two videos for insight and then just happened to come across the 68. I have to consider that somebody's searching for the 68 hinge video and then make it or cater it to them as well. So that's why I was going to eliminate putting together the second hinge, but then I thought, well, somebody, is just trying to do this and wants the information for the 68. I can't isolate that. I have to include that in the process. So that's why that video ended up being like, I think 28 minutes, which it's fine. Mason, who are you having? Who are you having? I guess you want to say do paint work on Jade? Like what color paint job? Okay. Well, Jade's going to be painted Gulfstream Aqua, which is basically that color of the fender. So that'll be the color for the car. No stripes. My wife said no stripes, so I can't put stripes on it. It's okay. And it'll get painted whenever I get finished up with all the panels, prepping them and getting them, in primer. But she looks good sitting there. I wish it was all in gray primer right now, even though I really like the look of that fender. It would look really good if it was all in one same color. David Stepp checking in from Oakland, a little late. Yeah, you're lucky I'm still here. I mean, usually I try to keep these a little bit shorter on Thursday, and I probably will end this pretty soon. We'll see how it goes. If anybody has any other, questions or anything they want to throw out, now would be the time. Or I still have, if somebody wants to be on a stream, I'll continue going. And just let me know if you want to be on the stream. Chintzy agrees. I guess you're agreeing with the idea that it should be, it would look better if it was all one color. Jan Nort. Hi, Joe. How are you? Greetings from the Netherlands. Jan. Wow. Okay. Well, hi, Jan. I'm doing pretty well, I think. How are you? The Netherlands. That's cool. That's why I'm doing these today. That's why I do these today. I know that Jeff is checking in from Barking, and Ricard is checking in from Sweden, and now Jan from the Netherlands. So I don't think I've seen. I'm going to say I haven't seen that name before either, but I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. The other thing I need to do. I don't think I've ever. I know I haven't bolted the hood directly onto Jade. I think I've set it in place to verify my fitments, so that when the fenders are set, and the bolts are in place, that the gaps were good. But I don't think I've. I don't think I've bolted them on, or bolted the hood on before. So I'll have to find what I did with the hood hinges. I know I have a set. They're still in a box, and I have to find them. And I have to, of course, dig the. Gonna have to dig the hood out of the storage building as well, and that hood has the cutouts for the turn signal lights. So I've always thought that was cool in those cars. 67 and 8 had those little cutouts in the hood, and I have the kit to do all that stuff, to put it all in place. So that'll look really cool when it's all put together. Carlos, Arthur Woodward, try installing a power blast plate on the carburetor from Thompson Performance. It helps to atomize the fuel. Well, there you go. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. Boondocker checking in. Hey, Barry, hope you're doing good. I am. I think I'm doing good. That's what the voices in my head tell me anyway. Jan, sorry, I'm fine now. Still recovering from coronavirus. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear you're recovering or on the road to recovery. That's a good thing. Rallycat, Harvey. Hello, Barry. Just finished work. Sorry I missed the first hour. Well, yeah, and I don't know how long I'm going to go. I haven't decided yet. I'm still kind of playing it by ear, I guess, at this point. I know that you just finished putting, I think I saw pictures on Instagram where you put exhaust on the 68-year building. Looks like you had nice cutouts in the valance panel, or I guess a GT style panel. So I saw that. It looks pretty good. Let me see what else. Let's see. Chuncy. The 67 did not have the cutouts in the hood. Only the 68 did. I hope I'm right. You sound a little unsure of that. I thought it was an option for 67 and 68. I'm I think somebody's going to know that answer for sure. I know it's an option. It was an option to add those, but I want to say 67 had them too. Oh, and that's another thing. I mentioned a few weeks ago that I was looking or had looked at a 65 coupe that was for sale that turned out to be just junk. I mean, it was junk. But I recently stumbled across a 67 coupe that would make a perfect fastback conversion. It really would. It's a 6-cylinder car, and price is right, but it's about 2 hours for me. So I have to commit to going and picking it up if I'm going to do it. The price was really good, and I think I could probably get it for even less than what they're asking if I just committed to go get it. But again, it's like a 2-hour trip. The car is sitting out in a field. Looks like the doors and fenders are off, and they said that the brakes are locked up, which is never a good sign. So I'd have to get winched up onto the trailer, and still has a 6-cylinder and everything. And it looks like it was a factory AC car, which is interesting, being a 6-cylinder car. Looked like it was factory AC. So anyway, I may have to go buy a 67 coupe just because the price is too good. And if the panels are as good as they say, which you never know, you just never know, it'd be worth it just for parts, really. But I have to find out. I need to find out if that has the interior seats and stuff too. That would be important. So Mason bought some fuzzy dice at Goodwill. Okay, cool. Yeah, get them on your dad's hot rod. Warren Witten, 67 had them. See? I was telling you, Chuncy. Harvey, yes, just installed the rear panel and can now put on the last foot of the exhaust. Your video on the rear valance was a big help. Cool. Very cool. Bob Knoll, my 67 has turn signals in the hood. Chuncy, you weren't sure. I told you. Other people know. Harry Olson, that's what I'm doing with my 67, a fastback conversion with independent front suspension, coyote swap. I call it COVID project. I like it. Yeah, I mean, the price is right. I may just have to go buy this thing. Boondocker listened to some of Monday's chat after the fact, and you referred to Kuderlev as your junkyard story guy. I thought I owned the title of Junkyard Stories, biggest fan. I couldn't remember. I may have choked. I couldn't remember. I think Cooter brings it up a lot, though. Maybe. I don't know. Either way, I had a Junkyard Story on Monday night's stream, so I'm glad you listened. Jerry, I did some research on the grill on my 66, and all the pics show what I have and no extensions. Oh, okay. No, Mason, I don't have any fuzzy dice. Sorry. Yep. Chuncy says, cool. Yeah. 67, 68. See, that's the thing. The 65 and 6 or 64 and a half to 66 were basically the same car. 67 and 8 were basically the same car. 69 and 70, basically the same car with minor changes. The biggest thing on the 67 is right here, where you have the two little rectangular vents that go in that recess. That's like the biggest difference between the 67 and 68, and the side marker lights, depending on the version. Like 68, you can see up front there's a cutout for the side marker light. I am not putting the panels on the back. I'm not putting the lights on the back. I don't like them. Maybe if they were recessed and actually lit up instead of being like, instead of being like the reflectors that they had on at a certain time. Just not a fan of it. I like the smooth quarter panel, and that's why I'm leaving them as they are, even though it is a 68 panel, but doing away with the side markers. Jason, sorry I missed it, but is there a backstory to the Iron Man in the Jade videos? there's if you look carefully, Iron Man's in almost every video that I've made in the last, I don't know how many years. I've talked about this before. In fact, if you look, there's Iron Man hanging out on the door. Yeah, I've mentioned this before. I've talked about it. As I was growing up, I remember finding some old comic books or something my dad had bought somewhere. And I remember reading, I don't think it was the original. It was a very old comic book. I'll say that. I don't think it was an original Iron Man, the first one. I think it was a reprint with multiple stories in it, if I remember correctly. And it was a pretty tattered up comic book. But it was a reprint basically of the origination story of Iron Man. And if you haven't, like the original, the movie version of Iron Man is a variation of the first Iron Man. Is a variation of the comic book story, but still same concept. He's injured. He figures out a way to keep the shrapnel from going into his heart, builds his Iron Man suit, keep himself alive, and then progresses from there. And I guess that kind of hit with me that this guy, even though he was facing difficulties of whatever, possibly death, he figured out a way to keep himself alive, and then also to make himself this Iron Man suit as a design and as a genius billionaire, whatever he was. So it always struck a chord with me, because if you look at the other superheroes, if you look at like the DC or any of them, a lot of the characters in those comic books are some sort of mutation, or like Superman is powerful because of the sun. Wonder Woman has some sort of a goddess type of situation. If you look at a lot of the other superheroes, like Captain America, well, he was modified. He wasn't built that way. They did stuff to him. So anyway, from that aspect, I was like, well, he's like a self-made superhero. Iron Man. He's got brains. He's got money. He's got knows how to build things. Fabricator, and that always just struck a chord with me. And I thought that's pretty cool. That character's, although far reach, of Fantasyland, that it could actually happen. So I always attached myself to Iron Man in that way. I just thought, well, he could do it. Why can't I? Type of thing. Even though it was a comic book. So anyway, I've always been a fan of Iron Man, and I thought it'd be fun to always associate somehow, some way, Iron Man into my videos. So if you'll see, sometimes you have to look. Sometimes you may be hidden somewhere, but I always put Iron Man in the background somewhere. And part of that was I'd seen a video series where a guy had done some construction of a he did like remodeling jobs, and he's done some video sequence where he's taken like little action heroes, whatever they were, like, and done stuff like had them stealing batteries out of his power tools, and like did a stop motion thing where they carried off his battery, or there's a whole bunch of different things. They had stole the wood that he had, and did a stop motion thing. I thought it was pretty cool. So I thought, oh, I'll try something along those lines. But anyway, Boondocker, I was a little hurt, but I haven't been here in a while, so I guess I have to share the title. I'm just glad others enjoy them as much as I do. Keep them coming. Okay. Carlos, is there an aftermarket intake head available for a 65 with 206-cylinder engine that is more efficient than the stock one? I don't know. Jerry might have an answer for that. I do know I think I know that there's a Australian version cylinder head that I think is more of a performance cylinder head. Somebody can maybe put some insight into that. I don't know how hard it is to get one though. But if somebody has any insight for Carlos, by all means, please share something. Chintzy agrees. I don't remember what I was talking about. Boondock, as far as I remember, Batman was also self-made. Yes, Batman was also self-made. But in a fight, I'll take Iron Man every day. I'll take Iron Man over just about any of the other characters. Because, Batman, he's a little creepy, to be honest. Puts on a black makeup under his eyes. Has to talk like this. I'm Batman. Whereas Iron Man owns it. He says, I'm Iron Man. Do something about it. Carlos, Steve Austin, $6 million man, stuff like that is really being incorporated for future armies. Yeah, that is true. They are working on suits and different things that people can wear. I've seen prototype stuff, even in my old army unit, to where they're, building these skeleton suits to help people carry stuff and move things. You're welcome, Jason. And Carlos, I hope somebody has an answer for you. Wait, Jerry has something. Yes, there's an aftermarket head. The owner is moving the manufacturing to the Midwest. He expects to have 50 by December. Vintage. I'm not sure what you type there. What'd you type, Jerry? Vintage inlines. Okay, got a couple extra characters. Looks like vintageinlines.com. So let me see if that would type up. Vintageinlines.com. I think that is what you're trying to post, Jerry. So there's a source for you, Carlos. Chuncy, I'll take Mighty Mouse over any superhero. Well, here he comes to save the day. Yeah, I'll go with that. Although he's just a cartoon. At least Iron Man, they made him real. But yeah, nothing wrong with Mighty Mouse. If Mighty Mouse and Superman got in the fight, who would win? Superman, of course. He's a real guy. I don't know. I don't know how strong Mighty Mouse would be if they made him made him a real mouse. I don't know. Anyway. So I hope you got that information, Carlos. Boondoctor, you type too slow. Okay. Yeah, I think it's getting time for me to fly. I'm gonna have to wrap this up. I've got a sink to fix that's clogged up in our house, so I need to take care of that. Try to get that addressed, and of course, I've got to do some prep work on getting ready to shoot some videos on the fender for Jade. So I want to thank everybody for coming, being here. If you would throw a thumbs up, all those cool things, thumbs up, comment, share, whatever, to make things work better for the channel. I am seeing some improvement on the channel, which is great. It needs to improve a lot more, but every little bit counts. So that is a good thing. And yeah, so we got Rick Stevenson, Carlos. Okay, you got that good. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'll be back on Monday at 7. Maybe I'll have some, some stuff together, maybe on Jade. I'm not sure yet. Hopefully I do have something going. But this has been fun. Glad you're all here. And that's going to be it. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.